How do you explain Westbrook's second half?
Well, I think he was bad all night. You know, the first half, he shot 3 for 9. The second half, he shot 3 for 9. He did have the 13 rebounds and 5 assists in the first half. And I've never been one to discredit Russell Westbrook's triple-doubles. I've never discredited his rebounds. A lot of people said he hunts for rebounds. His teammates let him get these rebounds to get the triple-doubles. I've never bought into that because his teams have won 75% of the games in which he's gotten a triple-double, so they haven't been empty numbers. But I got to admit, last night there were several times where it looked like he was just I didn't know who he was guarding. Like, he would just kind of hang around and float around the paint while the perimeter guy he should be guarding is kind of out by the three-point line. And that gives you the impression, is he just trying to get these rebounds? And so I didn't think he was good all night. The assists, none in the second half. The Wizards shot pretty well in the first half, 50%. Second half shot 36%, only 17% from three. So that obviously makes it tougher to get rebounds. But I think with Westbrook, what happens to him in the playoffs often, and even the play-in now, is that teams have more opportunity to zero in on an opponent, right? Even in a play-in where it's not a series, it's just one game, but you still can focus in on a team unlike you really can in the regular season. And so you can take away more of what they like to do. And Russ, as great as he is, doesn't have the skill set to kind of fall back on. He's not a great shooter. He's not even a really good shooter, you know? And so he doesn't have the three-pointer to fall back on. He really doesn't have the jump shot, period, to fall back on. And he also doesn't have great moves. It's not like he's shaking guys up and all that. He overwhelms opponents with his speed and athleticism, and he does that during the regular season. But in the playoffs, when you can focus in on him, especially when he doesn't have another great player, and I know Beal is an all-star, but he wasn't very good last night either, I think that's why defenses can make it much harder on Russ in the playoffs than they do in the regular season.
He was bad. Skip, it's as simple as that. Chris, it's simple as that. He was bad last night. As you said, he's not very normally, we know this. Rush isn't efficient, but he's effective. As you mentioned, Chris, he gets triple-doubles, and triple-doubles, they normally a lot of times equate to them winning ball games, but he's not going to shoot a high percentage from the floor. He shot a career low. He was under 40% from the floor this year. That's not good in any metric. No analytics will tell you that is a good percentage from the floor. Yeah, if you're shooting that from the three, but he shot that from the floor, from the regular, not the three-point line, the floor. He shot 31% from the three. He was just bad. And like you said, he's floating around and looking for, trying to get some cheap rebounds, and his guys are making buckets. The thing that I wanted to see is that Russell gets these numbers in the regular season. Chris, we got to see him get these in the playoffs. Because you say the triple-doubles mean something, then well, they're going to mean something in the playoffs. And we haven't seen him put those together. We see him get knocked out the first round every single time since KD left. And that to get them there, that's an accomplishment in and of itself. But I believe to take that next step and to be thought of how some view him. Because me personally, I don't believe Russ give a damn how you think of him. I don't care if he don't sleep like, man, I got to get this championship. That's not him. I don't believe he's wired like that. I play as hard as I can. I give it everything I got. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But last night he was awful. Bradley Beal's out there on one leg, doing all he can. He didn't shoot great from the floor, but they needed to play, in order to offset what Jason Tatum, they needed to probably have about 65, 70 points between the two. And one of those guys needed to be very efficient from the floor. And since neither one was efficient, the game got out of hand from them.
I'm sorry, but I cannot say it's as simple as he was just bad. Something happened last night. I've watched literally hundreds of Russell Westbrook games since he was a rookie in Oklahoma City. That was not Russell Westbrook in the second half. And I get it, 3 for 9 the first half, 3 for 9. But when you get one rebound with no assist in the second half, you have unplugged. I appreciate what Chris is saying about defense. He just completely disengaged on all facets of the game. He was no longer there. I don't know what happened at halftime. I don't know if they had some blow up at halftime. They were up 8 with a minute 40 left in the first half, and it dwindled down to 2 at halftime. But I still thought they were in position to close the deal in the third quarter, and they did not show up out of the locker room for the third quarter, in which Jason Tatum scored 23, Boston scored 38, and just pulled away, and basically the game was done.
Yep.
And Russell Westbrook looked done from the start of the third quarter, and I don't know why. I have no idea if there's some blow-up with coaches or teammates or whatever. Maybe he was just frustrated because his running mate, his co-star, was playing, as he called himself, I was the one-leg bandit, said Bradley Beal after the game. Mm-hmm. But this, unfortunately, just further enhances Russ's reputation for being the all-time greatest stat machine who prioritizes starring over winning, especially in the postseason. This was the game where just by sheer force of will, we both thought, Shannon and I thought, that he could just overwhelm and overpower a Boston team that had lost 5 of 6 and 6 of 8. They didn't have Jaylen Brown. That Marcus Smart got hurt last night. Robert Williams got hurt and was out. They just looked like they were literally on their last leg. And here came what? Russell Westbrook. So, again, he's a horrible three-point shooter. We get that. But he usually can cancel all that out with just sheer force of will. Well, where was it? I don't know what happened. And then he walks off, and we've seen it several times today. They sub for him at 3:45 left, and then he just walks to the locker room.
I thought he tweaked, Skip, but normally what he could do, even though he's not shooting a high percentage from the three-point line, he can normally get to the paint. But he couldn't get to the paint. They cut the paint off. He picked up a couple of charges, tried to run over people, and that's him. A lot of times they're 3-on-1, and Russ like, I'm going to the basket. Well, no, you're not. No, you're not. I mean, and he missed a shot. Skip showed it early. He missed a shot. He was on one side of the rim. He shot the ball clear over the rim and hit the backboard on the other side. He wasn't good last night, and he's going to have to be better. I don't know. I think they play Indiana tonight or tomorrow. But he's going to have to be much better in order for them, because even though they don't have Karis LeVert, Brogdon came back. Sabonis is a monster on the glass. They got some guys that can put the ball in the basket, so they're going to have to be on their best behavior, or they're going home.
Skip, you made a good point. I mean, his body language was bad. And you're right. I mean, did something happen? Did he tweak an injury? As he walked in, you saw him in the hall. Yeah. Looked like maybe it's something injured. Is that what was upsetting him? Was there a situation with teammates? I don't know, but his body language was much worse in the second half. I think this is an interesting thing with Russell Westbrook. And you guys, I think, discussed it after he broke Oscar Robertson's triple-double record. Is he the best player ever or never to win a championship? I don't think he's the best. I'd take James Harden over him. At this point, Harden doesn't have a title. I think, obviously, you argue for Karl Malone or Charles Barkley. But I think it's interesting because as time goes on, and, 10, 15, 20 years from now, there'll be a lot more people in the media that really didn't see Russell Westbrook, at least up close and personal. And the details will get murky. You won't remember that he wasn't really great with time and score, and he didn't really know how to pace himself and wasn't a point guard, didn't have that point guard mentality. All of that will kind of get fuzzy, and people will just look at the numbers. And they'll see he averaged a triple-double for 4 years. He's got to be the greatest player never to win a championship. So it'll be interesting to see how history remembers him. He'll be an icon and a legend, as he should be, for these accomplishments. But I wonder if he will eventually get that label as the best player never to win a championship simply because of his numbers.
Well, I had a problem with Scotty Brooks saying he's the second best point guard ever. I think Scotty Brooks has to have been drinking because he's out of his mind if he thinks Russell Westbrook is the second best point guard ever.
Coaching Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. But but don't do hyperbole.
So now, to me, Russell is back on a fairly hot seat because he better rise and shine against Indiana at home. They get a home game to get the 8th seed.
Right.
And after the year he had, that's the 4th triple-double year out of 5. Come on, you better show us.
And that's the thing, Skip. And think about it. All those years, for the most part, they went to the playoffs. And then how many triple-doubles did he have once he got to the playoffs? So we don't see that same energy. We don't see the same that same imprint on a ball game in the playoff that we see in the regular season. And the really greats, if you look at the really greats, what do they do come playoff time, Chris? They elevate. They score more. You look at Kevin Durant's scoring average. It's higher in the playoffs. Jordan is higher in the playoffs. LeBron, these guys, they elevate their scoring. So if Russ wants to be thought of in those circles, he's going to have to do what he did in the regular season. He's going to have to put some games like that together in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think it's the lack of skills. I mean, to a certain level, relatively speaking. He doesn't have the jumper to fall back on. He doesn't have the moves to just shake you up. So when the defense knows your tendencies and what you want to do, I think they can take a lot away from Russ. His numbers are still good. You look at them, they're not the regular season numbers, but he still gets his numbers, but with terrible efficiency.
Right.
In 5 of the 8 playoff series he's played in over the last 5 years, he shot less than 40%. And that volume score, that just won't get it done.
No.
And another guy, Allen Iverson, was a volume scorer. He didn't get it done in the playoffs for the most part, other than the 1 year when they went to the finals.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.